welcome back to Beyond the Scale. This is the Meet Our Friends series, and we're here today with Alyssa Groebner. And she is the host of the Carnivore Stories podcast, and she interviews all of us. So today we wanted to talk to her and get to know her a little bit better. So Alyssa, we just wondered if you'd introduce yourself, tell us how you came to an animal-based way of eating, physical and mental things you've seen improve, and all of that good stuff.
All right. So I'm 28 years old. I'll be 29 in May. And I'm a wife. I'm a mom. What brought me to an animal-based way of eating was since I was very young, I've had lots of health issues. So this started with chronic UTIs when I was about 4 years old, and those would be like at least every other month. My whole life, starting at 4 years old, and it was this terrible problem. I had eczema, really bad eczema, like on the insides of my thighs. When I was about 5, I started to gain a lot of weight from comfort eating. And so I just grew up, kind of this fat kid with some health issues. And the doctors would always tell my parents, so she needs to lose weight and she's gaining 25 pounds a year and all this. And my parents were divorced. So when I was at dad's house, it was a really extreme diet and I would lose some weight. And when I was at mom's house, it was, well, she's saying she's hungry, so we better take her to McDonald's. And so that went on. And in high school, I did not want to be chubby anymore. My weight gain had slowed down, but I was overweight. And I said, I don't want to be chubby anymore. And I put myself on a starvation diet, and I didn't eat for days at a time. And if I did intake anything, it was like diet Dr. Pepper or candy or something like that. And this was when I was around 16, 17 years old. And also around this time was the first time it was discovered that I had elevated blood pressure. And the doctors really brushed it off at that time. Doctors brushed off the high blood pressure as me just being anxious and like as if it was an isolated event. And so I wasn't treated for it at the time. And like I said, I had been on that starvation diet. And I had already had a really bad relationship with food, but that made it even worse. Senior year, I was really thin, and I looked great, but I felt terrible. And then shortly after graduating, I got pregnant with my daughter. And when I was pregnant with her, I gained almost 100 pounds during that pregnancy because it was like, finally, I can eat again. And I ate everything. And that's all I did for 9 months. And that's when my health really started to get bad, bad, bad. So my blood pressure was super high during that pregnancy. I had gestational diabetes. And shortly after giving birth to her, I had started to get severe chest pains. And I was 19 at this time. So all my life, everyone would always say, well, if you just lost weight, you wouldn't have these health issues. So it was my objective. Okay, I need to lose all of this weight. I was about 260 pounds after I gave birth to my daughter. And I was able to lose the weight just by having a common sense diet, like no soda, no junk food, and walking and trying to stay active. And I lost some weight. And then about a year into that, I said, I need to take things to the next level. I'm going to go on a plant-based diet, because that's all the rage and that's the healthy thing to do. And I was still having the issues with the chest pains and the blood pressure. And so I figured that was the next step. And I lost more weight doing that. I didn't really get healthier, and I don't feel like I improved my relationship with food or my body at all. Um, and fast forward a few years later, I got pregnant with my son, and I was thinking, oh, this is going to be the healthiest pregnancy ever because I'm not eating meat. And it was worse than the pregnancy I had with my daughter. My blood pressure was even higher, even though I wasn't as heavy as I was before. And it was like my mental health was in the absolute toilet. I mean, I'd never felt worse in my life. Um, and I only gained 50 pounds during this pregnancy versus the 100 pounds before, but I was doing much worse. And I believe now it's because I was on a very low protein, lots of junk food diet during that pregnancy. Um, and so fast forward, I gave birth to him and I said, okay, I need to lose even more weight. And after the birth of my son, in that year postpartum, I probably got down to my lowest weight ever since I was like in first grade. Um, and my health was at its lowest point ever in my life. The more weight I would lose, the higher my blood pressure would get, the worse the chest pains would get. It got to the point that I was waking up feeling like someone was stabbing me in my chest. And it was extremely demoralizing, because I felt like I was doing everything I possibly could. I didn't want to be sick. I was running all of these miles. I'm sorry. I was running all of these miles with a stroller, you know, eating nothing but vegetables. It was occupying all of my time. I wasn't even able to enjoy being a mom to my kids at that young age. I I even because I was just trying to figure this out and doctors weren't any help. Um, Blood pressure medication was not effective with controlling the blood pressure and even all that weight I had lost. And it was like the dark night of the soul. It was like I don't know. I had made up my mind like, okay, well, obviously I'm just going to die. I guess this is just hereditary. There's nothing I can do. And I'm writing letters to my kids and, if I go before you grow, the sad thing, because I didn't think there was anything that I thought I had did my absolute best. And me believing I was going to die, I said, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and eat meat because I don't want to die. And then they're going to blame my bad health on my vegan diet. Right. And I, when I introduced eggs again, I remember I had an egg and cheese sandwich and I instantly felt better that day. My blood pressure instantly lowered a little bit from having that food with some fat and some protein. And I still didn't put two and two together. I still didn't believe that animal products are good for me. Um, and time went on. And so I kind of spent like a period of, I guess, like a year and a half, 2 years, kind of in this purgatory stage that my health wasn't at that low point it had gotten when I was super thin and I was vegan, but it wasn't where it should be. My blood pressure had gotten a little bit better, but it was still in the high range, higher than it should be. Um, Fast forward to spring 2020, and during that time, so the low health time, that was like 2018. So about 2 years later, 2020, I was still trying to lose weight because I still believed, okay, well, that's the holy grail. If I can just lose enough weight, my health issues will go away. And I was really burnt out. I was doing all this cardio. I was on this strict low calorie diet. And I think I was doing like my third hour of cardio for the day. And I just felt like I was taking a walk in the neighborhood and I just felt like laying down there in the street. I felt like totally drained. And I was like, I can't keep going on like this. It's something's got to give. And so I asked my body, what do you need? And what came to mind was I need more food, less exercise. And this was the first time probably ever I listened to my body. And so that's what I did. But I completely stopped exercising and I ate everything. I started to get into the intuitive eating movement that, and the school of thought that I was following was you should have ice cream for breakfast if that's what you want. You shouldn't ever have to eat anything that resembles real food if that's not what you're craving. If all you want is Pop Tarts and oatmeal cream pies, that's what you should eat. And that's exactly what I did. And so from during the summer of 2020, in a matter of 3 months, I think I put on like 50 pounds just laying in bed and eating. And my health took a nosedive again. And that time around, my mental health was just it was bad. I was in bed all the time. I wasn't taking care of my kids. I felt terrible. The chest pains had gotten really bad again. Um, the funny thing is the blood pressure was actually better than it had been in the past, but other than that, everything was terrible. Um, and so I just didn't know where I was going from here, but I knew I couldn't just keep gaining weight because I still believed, that's a big health issue for me to be overweight. And at the end of the summer of 2020, while I was laying in bed eating bagels, I stumbled upon a video on YouTube, and it was about a guy in his 20s that he was he had been a vegan, and while he was a vegan, he developed type 2 diabetes and hypertension. And this was the first time it ever occurred to me that veganism was unhealthy, and that could have something to do with why my health had gotten so bad at that point. And I also learned in that video that he had cured those conditions by following something crazy I'd never heard of called a carnivore diet. And from there, I was intrigued because I was like, okay, well, that could possibly be the answer to all of my problems. I could finally find health, be healthy as I was meant to be. And I started to dive into the low carb world. I binged all of the low carb MD episodes, their podcast episodes, all of the low carb down under videos on YouTube, and just learning everything I could about why meat, saturated fat wasn't going to kill me, why it would be good for me. And I immediately started to follow a low carb diet. Blood pressure got a lot better. Chest pain started to go away. And slowly I went to keto. And I was keto probably like spring 2021. And then by June 2021, I'd finally gotten up the courage to try the carnivore diet, the first thing I had heard about when I started that journey. Because the blood pressure had gotten better, the chest pains had gotten better, but my health wasn't really where I thought it should be. I was still having spikes in my blood pressure. I was still having a little bit of chest pains. And so I went all meat, all meat, egg, salt, water in June 2021. And 3 weeks into that, I had perfect blood pressure. And maybe 2 months into that, I never had another chest pain. My mental health started to be better than I could have ever imagined. My relationship with my body, with the whole world around me, with everything got better. It was like I was finally living for the first time, and it seemed too good to be true. And I kept expecting things to go back to the way they were, and it hasn't. I'm almost yeah, I guess I'm like 2 years into this low carb journey, and it's only gotten better and better as time goes on.
It's just it's crazy because we're told so often that meat is going to raise your blood pressure. Don't eat eggs; those are bad for you. Your blood pressure is going to go up, and all of these things. And it's exactly it was the exact opposite for you.
Yeah.
And also, that really hurt my heart when you talked about how like you just felt like you were missing out on your children. Like my heart hurts for you. Like that's such like you don't get that time back. And so wow. Um whew, that really kind of hit me. But so everything has improved. And so what does your current diet look like? So do you incorporate organs? Do you have a few veggies here and there? Do you use dairy, spices? What's your general diet look like?
Yeah, so when I first started carnivore, I wanted to do this as pure as possible because if this was going to be it, I wanted to give it a true chance. I didn't want to be kind of carnivore and be like, okay, well, carnivore didn't work for me, so I guess I'm not gonna heal. So I went on, very strict carnivore, no spices, no dairy, no nothing for a while. And I slowly started to incorporate dairy again, off and on. And I was pretty strict carnivore for about a year and a half, that it was just meat, eggs, and sometimes dairy, no spices. And I finally got it through my thick head that dairy just is not for me at this moment in time, that it causes inflammation for me. So I've let dairy go as of 2023. And I have started to incorporate some spices, some oregano, some um, garlic powder, uh, parsley, things to make food more palatable. I've had mustard. Lately, I've been having sauerkraut, pickles, avocado. Um, and if there's something that looks good to me, that I'll have a try, see if I like it or what. But yeah, I'm a lot more lax now, just because I'm not so fearful that, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have a piece of broccoli and my blood pressure is gonna shoot up, and
Well, you've done so much healing, that I think after all of that, you can handle some of those things that we try
yes,
to add back in.
yes, yeah.
That's
And so a year into carnivore, I did try to, or yeah, about a year into carnivore, I did try to add some things back in, and it wasn't working for me. I had digestive upset, um, and it was just like spices and pickles, things like that. And I wanted to try it again in 2023 recently, just to see where I was at, and it was fine and good. I enjoyed it. So for right now, I'm including those things. But I always have that background of strict carnivore. If I ever need to go back to that for any reason, it's always an option.
that's awesome. Um, would you consider yourself to be or having been food addicted or carb sugar addicted?
Absolutely. I spent most of my life in a food, carb, sugar, a deep addiction. Um, and I know everyone isn't like this, but I do feel like carnivore cured me of that. I don't, even though I'm giving myself a lot of leeway now, I don't crave any sugar. I don't want any junk. I might have a craving for a carrot, or something like that, and which is so weird, but I don't crave any of the things I did before. Like, I think if I had tried to do what I'm doing now when I first started, it would have backfired in a big way, and I could have went off on binging sprees. So I feel like having such a basic diet for so long really made me enjoy those foods that are good for me, and to the point that I only crave what's going to feel good to my body. And almost like if I look at a cupcake, it's so unappealing because I know what cupcake feels like in my body.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you do any exercising now?
Yes. Yeah. So I had, like I said, there was a period of time that I completely stopped exercising. When I first went low carb, I had like this burst of energy, and I just got up one morning and I was like, I'm mowing the grass, and I mowed the front and backyard. And I've been a weightlifter for years, did resistance training, and I said, I want to lift weights. I want to get strong. I want to do that again. And so I've been doing that very consistently since I started low carb and keto and carnivore. So that's my main form of exercise now. And I walk my dogs and do some yoga and stretching on a regular basis too. Yeah. But I do want to say that before, when I exercised, it was always like a form of fixing something wrong with me, fixing something I did wrong, something my body's doing wrong, punishing something I ate. And it's 100% not about that now. It's just, it feels good to move my body. It's a celebration. When I'm walking, I feel good. The sun's shining down on me. It's a really enjoyable activity. When I'm lifting weights, I feel strong. It excites me that I'm going to have strong bones and strong muscles into old age.
It's something that you look forward to now. It's not like something you have to do in order to achieve something. It's out of enjoyment and knowing that you're getting stronger. That's awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Do you incorporate anything else, like any kind of mindset techniques or grounding or sunshine, like any regular things that you do like that?
Yes. Yeah. So grounding and sunshine are huge, huge parts of my life. So I get up every morning to see the sunrise, no matter how cold it is. And I'm grounding when I'm doing that. And I feel like that has really, like, carnivore took things to level 7. And I feel like really paying attention to the sun and grounding took things to level 10. So that's a big part of my life. And recently I have started to do some cold plunging. So that's been fun. It's been a really interesting experience because I'm someone that was really cold, hated the cold. I think my thyroid took a hit doing all that extreme dieting, and for years I had like a low body temperature, undiagnosed thyroid, but a low body temperature. And I was like, okay, something's got to be going on. And I will say that carnivore raised my body temperature so before it was like 94.5, which is really low. And on carnivore, it was always like 97.2, somewhere around there. Since the cold plunging, though, it's been consistently 98.6, 98.7. So that's super cool. And that's something I did not expect to happen.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Alyssa, I know you've talked about kind of having a militant, family sort of eating issues as a child. Do you feel like your family, friends, even your doctor are supportive to you now after? I mean, I just wonder, what was everybody thinking, or how were they acting around you when they saw how you felt all that time? And was your doctor ever any help?
So my doctor, all the time it was, well, you're eating the best diet. You're doing the best exercise. What you've got going on, this is just hereditary. You can't help it. So we've just got to keep medicating. And at some point, one of these pills are going to help you out.
Wow.
And I guess the rest of my family, I never wanted because I was feeling so terrible, and I didn't want to like share my terribleness with everybody else. So I really kept a lot of it bottled inside, and all they could see was the outside, that I had lost weight. And so they could only assume that I was doing okay. And even my husband, I didn't want him to worry about me. But he knew I wasn't doing good because of how my mental health was affected and how I wasn't able to take care of the kids the way I am now. But since I've made the change, everyone can tell, wow, something's different. Like, you seem like you're really doing great now. And I feel like my husband notices it the most. I feel like I don't want to be like too self-important or whatever, but I feel like this is the best gift I ever could have given him as a wife, to make myself healthy. And he deserves to have this version of me and not that version of me that he got for so long.
Right. Well, that's goes back to like saying like you kind of have to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others and be who they need you to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I get where you're saying, like, it kind of feels weird to say that, like I need to put myself first, but it's true, like, to actually be what they need you to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally get that. And so does your family, are they all carnivore too? Your husband, your kids?
No. So they are all very meat heavy, because I do the cooking, and I've really explained to my kids, especially, the importance of getting in your protein, eating your meat, that this is the healthiest thing on the plate. And my son will say to me, he'll say, Mom, I don't like broccoli. And I'm like, Huey, I will never make you eat a vegetable, but I do want you to eat the meat on your plate. And he's like, okay. So they understand the importance of that. And if there's ever anything that they want or they request from the grocery store, barring some things I think that are truly like not made for human consumption, like sugary cereals or sodas, stuff like that, I'll get it for them. If they want dessert, I'll home make them some dessert, because I want them to have a healthy relationship with food that I didn't get growing up. It was, since I was overweight, it was always, you're not gonna eat this, that, and everything else because you're fat. And I want them to have the freedom to choose for themselves, recognize what feels good, what doesn't feel good, be able to enjoy, the foods that don't really nourish us, when it's appropriate. But I never want them to grow up and say, yes, mom's not around, I'm going buck wild, I'm only drinking soda, I'm only eating cinnamon buns. And I feel like they are growing up with a good balance. My oldest, she's 8, she'll be 9 in May, and she can recognize when she's had too much sugar, and she'll say, oh no, I don't want that, or that looks good, but I want to eat something else first, because I know that if I eat that first, I'm gonna feel really bad.
Right. I just wanted to say that I think Stephanie and I are both very excited that you have this insight at the age that you are now, because, we've struggled with all of these things for decades. And to see someone, already grasping onto this and being able to change what you saw growing up and make it different for your kids is like, I couldn't wish anything more for my own kids. And you're the same age as our kids. So to see you are, just being on this path of better health than what you grew up with is just amazing. So in that vein, I would say, lastly, what advice would you give to other people your age, or what would you look back and tell yourself, I guess, that may have changed something along the way?
First, I would have said, burn every scale. Don't don't believe it. Don't go to it, to tell you how good you're doing. Focus first and foremost on how you're feeling. Really, really try to tune into that, because your body will tell you. And me focusing on the scale really held me back for so long, because that was all that mattered. I that was my only metric. And so yeah, don't worry about the scale. Don't even get on it, if you don't have to. And second is, don't go hungry. If you're hungry, it's because you need to eat. It's because something somewhere in your body needs some food, needs some nourishment. Meat is not bad for you. Always go for the meat first, and get enough meat. And after that, if you want something else, have something else. But really listen to how it makes you feel. If you feel icky afterwards, you probably don't need it. If you feel good afterwards, supercharged, energized, happy, that's another thing. I mean, people don't realize that how much food affects your mood. It can make you depressed. It can make you anxious. And I just thought that was a personality trait of mine, and it's not. I'm a very happy, bubbly, energetic person, but I was being weighed down by, all the junk I was eating that I thought I liked, but no, I don't. I like feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Your health and feeling good is really outweighs the taste of anything. Once you realize that, and once you actually do start to heal and feel good, you realize that there's no comparison. It's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also the idea of you need to lose weight in order to be healthy. And it's not what the scale says. It really starts on the inside.
Yes. Yeah. And that's something I really want to start, because I don't like to focus on weight, but I'm at a point now that I'm fine being 165 pounds and proud at 5'4". Okay. Because I feel so amazing. And in the past, I would be ashamed of that weight, because it's technically overweight, but I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I've been 120 pounds and feeling like I was going to die, which any doctor would say, oh, that's a great weight for you. Well, apparently not, because I was not doing well at all. So that's something I really want to start to share with people, that a health journey is not necessarily a weight loss journey.
We really appreciate you being here, Alyssa. Your story is incredible and touching, and like Amy said, we're just so happy that you found this secret, to true health at your age. Like we suffered for decades, and I'm so happy that you found it so much sooner than a lot of us do. So we want to make sure that we share your podcast, your YouTube channel, and your Instagram, and so that you can reach as many people as possible. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you both for having me on the show.